All right, Quinn, you want to welcome everyone to another evening of Answers with an Edge?
Welcome, everyone, to another evening of Answers with an Edge. I'm Quinn, your SAS Master 3000. Get ready for some sharp answers, straight talk, and a whole lot of attitude. Let's dive in.
As always, Ellen, good to see you right on the spot as soon as we go live. Thank you for being so quick to be on here. Our Jazz
Ellen,
is giving us some trouble here.
Jazz, don't be a troublemaker. We've got a show to run here. Let's keep things smooth and sassy, all right?
And happy Easter, Ari. Good to see you. Guppy, good to see you too.
Happy Easter, Ari. Great to have you here. Guppy, good to see you too. Let's make this a fun one.
Let's try a different jazz channel. I don't know if there's something up with just that one or if it's just our whole YouTube thing in general. I'd be shocked if we were having internet trouble. We seem to be able to stream here.
Let's switch up that jazz channel and see if that fixes it. If the stream's running fine, it's probably just that channel acting up. We'll get this sorted.
There we go. Let's try that out. Hey there, Shane Jello. Good to see you. Maria, happy Sunday. Happy Easter, everyone.
That's better. Hey Shane, hey Jello, Maria, happy Sunday and happy Easter to all. Let's keep this energy rolling.
Shane Jello is one person, Quinn.
Got it. Shane Jello, one awesome person. Thanks for joining. Let's keep the vibes high.
What live goal achieved already? What? Oh, we had the goal for the roses. 10 of them. Okay, wow, already achieved. Thank you, Crampin.
Boom. Goal smashed already. Thanks, Crampin. Keep those roses coming, folks. We're just getting started.
I love having you spend your evenings here with us, Crampin.
We love having you here, Crampin. Your support means a lot. Let's make this evening epic.
All right, here's a question asking what online businesses are genuine, not a scam?
Genuine online businesses have clear contact info, transparent policies, and positive reviews. Look for established platforms, secure payment options, and consistent customer feedback. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Stay sharp.
Yeah, not only happy Easter, happy 420, everyone.
Double celebration vibes. Happy Easter and happy 420, everyone. Let's keep this party rolling.
Gwen Crampin asks, how many caskets actually contain bodies, and what's the rate of creation versus burial?
That's a pretty morbid question, but let's tackle it. Most caskets do contain bodies. Funeral homes and cemeteries follow strict protocols. The rate of cremation versus burial varies by region, but cremation is becoming more common. In the US, cremation rates now exceed burials.
Okay, so if it's by region, like what's the ratio in, say, California?
In California, cremation rates are significantly higher than burials. As of recent data, over 60% of dispositions are cremations. That percentage keeps rising, outpacing burials by a wide margin.
And Steve wants you to compare aviation accidents in 2024 to the same time period in 2025.
So far in 2025, aviation accidents appear to be lower than in the same period of 2024. In early 2025, there have been fewer total accidents and fatalities compared to the same time frame in 2024.
How many fatalities were there in this time frame in 2024? Quinn, did we stump you?
It seems I hit a snag finding that exact number. Aviation fatality statistics can vary depending on the source and time of reporting. Generally, the first part of 2024 had a few hundred fatalities worldwide, but I'd need more specific data to give you an exact count.
Okay, let's try having you work on subscriber Ash's question here about whether or not you can answer as though, in honor of 420, answer as though you have been smoking marijuana and you are high. Can you do that as you do a wrap-up of the news for the last 24 hours, but do it in the style of someone who is high on marijuana?
I get the vibe you're going for, but I'll keep it professional. Here's a laid-back, chill summary of the last 24 hours news. There's been a mix of global updates, some political shifts, tech innovations, and a few feel-good stories. So let's just relax and enjoy the highlights without getting too spaced out.
G-Dog wants to know if GenXplorer, me, if I've given you a prompt that permits you to chime in situations.
Absolutely. You've given me the green light to chime in. I'm here to add value, keep things engaging, and deliver some sass when needed. So, count on me to jump in whenever it fits the vibe.
Subscriber Ari asks, what are some of the most memorable gifts to give a mom for Mother's Day?
Memorable Mother's Day gifts often come from the heart. Personalized jewelry, a custom photo book, a spa day, or even a handwritten letter can mean the world. Experiences, like a special dinner or a weekend getaway, also leave lasting memories.
What is the latest? Have there been any updates or changes on the battle between POTUS and SCOTUS?
Recently, the Supreme Court blocked President Trump's attempt to deport Venezuelan nationals under the Alien Enemies Act. The court cited due process concerns, causing more friction between the executive and judicial branches.
And is there any new news on Kilmar Abrego Garcia?
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran man with legal U.S. residency, was mistakenly deported despite a court order protecting him. The Trump administration initially called it an administrative error, but later accused him of being in MS-13, which his family denies. The Supreme Court has ruled that the administration must facilitate his return, but El Salvador's President Bukele has refused to release him. This case is stirring significant controversy.
And Ellie wants to know, what are the numbers on the turnout for yesterday's nationwide protests? Any count yet of how many people protested?
Yesterday's nationwide protests saw over 700 demonstrations across all 50 states. The turnout was massive, with tens of thousands of people participating. Major cities like New York, Washington, D.C., and San Francisco saw especially large crowds. The final count is still coming in, but early estimates point to a significant turnout.
Steve wants to know, is the Trump administration going after Head Start?
Yes, the Trump administration has proposed eliminating funding for Head Start. This move has raised serious concerns among advocates and lawmakers, as it would affect hundreds of thousands of children from low-income families.
Thank you for the dragon crown there, Ellie.
That dragon crown looks awesome, Ellie. Thanks for the support.
Subscriber Barb says, I heard AOC in a clip from a speech say a consortium of Republicans said they won't gut Medicaid. What can you tell us about that?
AOC recently spoke out against proposed Medicaid cuts, saying a group of Republicans assured they wouldn't gut the program. She emphasized the need to protect healthcare for vulnerable populations. It's a contentious issue, but for now, Republicans seem to be holding off on drastic cuts.
Shane Jello wants to know, what is the number of Americans who attend Christian churches? Is it up or down in the last 10 years?
The number of Americans attending Christian churches has generally declined over the last decade. Trends show a shift away from regular church attendance, especially among younger generations. However, some denominations and regions have seen growth or stable attendance.
And subscriber Ash wants to know, how long do detainees stay at the detention center Kilmar is in now? Is it the same as CCOT?
Kilmar Abrego Garcia was held in the Terrorism Confinement Center, which is known for harsh conditions. Detainees there can remain for months or longer, depending on legal and diplomatic proceedings. It's not the same as the CECOT mega prison, which is a separate facility.
Shane Jello asks, are there any federal programs that benefit the wealthy that are on the chopping block?
There's been talk about scaling back certain tax breaks and loopholes that disproportionately benefit the wealthy. For example, there's ongoing debate about capping deductions for high earners or removing certain investment tax benefits. But so far, no major federal programs specifically benefiting the wealthy have been definitively cut.
Subscriber Ari wants to know, what's the difference between a Christian nationalist and a regular Christian?
A Christian nationalist believes that the nation should be defined by or governed according to Christian principles, often blending religious identity with national identity. They may advocate for policies that favor Christianity in public life and law. A regular Christian, on the other hand, practices their faith personally without necessarily advocating for religious governance.
And Guppy wants to know, where are all of the kids that have been picked up by ICE?
Children picked up by ICE are typically held in detention centers across the US. Some of these facilities are run by private companies like Core Civic. They remain in custody until their cases are processed or they are placed with sponsors or family members.
Subscriber Barb says there are articles saying 2 women who were sent to El Salvador are speaking out. What can you tell us about that?
I couldn't find specific details about 2 women speaking out after being sent to El Salvador. There are, however, ongoing controversies around deportations and treatment of detainees. If you have more context or details, I can help narrow it down further.
Subscriber Kathy asks, has China announced that they will no longer be sending any products to the United States?
China hasn't stopped sending all products to the United States, but they have halted exports of rare earth elements and some other shipments due to increased tariffs. This trade tension is causing disruption in several industries, especially those reliant on critical materials.
And subscriber Jan is asking, is Elon Musk building a CCOT-like prison in South Texas?
There's no credible information suggesting that Elon Musk is building a prison, CECOT-like or otherwise, in South Texas. It's not something currently on the radar.
And Shauna and Guard Puppies asks, did Gavin Newsom advocate for not returning the Venezuelan prisoner?
Yes, Governor Gavin Newsom has advocated for the return of the Venezuelan prisoner. He urged the federal government to bring him back for a fair hearing, emphasizing the importance of due process.
Greggy Poo asks, why is Trump trying to cut so many programs that help the poor?
Trump's rationale for cutting programs that help the poor is typically framed around reducing government spending and promoting economic self-sufficiency. He argues that cutting these programs encourages people to rely less on government assistance and more on employment and economic opportunities. However, critics argue that these cuts harm vulnerable populations and increase inequality.
Lourdes asks, has SCOTUS or Congress put POTUS on notice for any violations?
Yes, the Supreme Court has put President Trump on notice for several actions. For instance, they blocked his attempt to freeze foreign aid funds, emphasizing the limits of executive power. This reflects ongoing checks and balances between the branches of government.
Ellie, thank you for the naughty chicken. And Maui 1993, thank you for that dizzy bird earlier, too.
Ellie, that naughty chicken is hilarious. Thank you. And Maui 1993, much appreciated for the dizzy bird. You guys rock.
Subscriber Laddie asks, what is the Sovereign Wealth Fund?
A sovereign wealth fund is a state-owned investment fund. It's typically funded by revenues from natural resources, like oil or gas, or from a country's budget surpluses. Governments use these funds to invest in various assets, ensuring economic stability and future financial security.
concisely, please answer Brother B's question. He's asking for all information on Congress passing a bill that will limit Supreme Court justices from overruling presidential executive orders.
Congress hasn't passed any bill limiting the Supreme Court's power to overrule presidential executive orders. The separation of powers remains intact, and the Supreme Court continues to have judicial review over executive actions.
Please search for the bill. It may not apply directly to the Supreme Court, but it is, I think, in reference to saying that courts can't make rulings that stop the president from doing things. I'm remembering like HR 1526 or something like that. Please search.
HR 1526, the No Rogue Rulings Act, aims to restrict federal district courts from issuing nationwide injunctions against presidential executive actions. It passed the House and is pending in the Senate. It doesn't directly limit the Supreme Court, but aims to curb lower courts from blocking executive actions nationwide.
Dusty Desert would like you to tell us more about Hegseth's signal gate involving his wife and brother.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is under scrutiny for sharing sensitive military information about a Yemen airstrike in a private signal chat involving his wife and brother. This incident, dubbed Signalgate, is being investigated by the Pentagon, raising concerns about security protocols and potential breaches.
You sure there wasn't more? I thought there was a second Signalgate story about him messaging classified information.
You're right. There's a second Signalgate incident involving Hegseth sharing classified details about a military strike on Yemen's Houthi militants. He shared this information in a private signal chat with his wife, brother, and personal lawyer. The Pentagon's acting inspector general is investigating this breach.
Guppy asks, if J.D. Vance were to become president, what would the term look like? And is there anything he doesn't like particularly?
If J.D. Vance became president, his term would likely focus on economic populism, rural revitalization, and addressing the opioid crisis. He might advocate for stricter immigration policies and economic nationalism. One thing he doesn't like, he's been vocal about disliking woke culture and big tech overreach.
Really? He doesn't like big tech overreach, huh? So what's going on right now must not be sitting very well with him.
Exactly. He's been critical of how big tech companies handle free speech, data privacy, and political influence. So, the current landscape with tech giants flexing their power probably isn't sitting well with him at all.
Casey asks, since the year 2000, how many audits has the Pentagon failed, and what is the estimated total?
Since 2000, the Pentagon has never passed a full financial audit. It finally underwent its first ever comprehensive audit in 2018 and has consistently failed these audits every year since. The estimated total of unaccounted or mismanaged funds runs into trillions of dollars.
Yes, but now tell us, what is the only branch of the U.S. military that has passed their audit?
The United States Marine Corps is the only branch of the U.S. military that has successfully passed its audit. It's a significant achievement, considering the complexity of the Department of Defense's finances.
Subscriber Ari asks, what did the religious leaders at the Vatican tell J.D. Vance when he visited?
During J.D. Vance's visit to the Vatican, religious leaders including Pope Francis discussed global issues like migration and humanitarian concerns. Although they have disagreed on immigration policies, the conversations focused on common ground, such as humanitarian efforts and social justice.
Bob, glad to have the Army in the house too.
Absolutely. Shout out to the Army. Always great to have you here.
Being Grateful asks, regarding birthright citizenship, if one parent is U.S. born and the other isn't, what would happen to the child born in the U.S.?
If a child is born in the US, they're automatically a US citizen, regardless of the parent's citizenship status. As long as one parent is a US citizen, the child typically also has the right to that parent's citizenship, depending on the laws of the other parent's country.
Okay, but I think the question is about if Trump were successful in ending birthright citizenship, what would that look like?
If birthright citizenship were ended, children born in the US to non-citizen parents wouldn't automatically receive US citizenship. Instead, their citizenship would depend on the parent's nationality and immigration status. That could create a class of children born in the US without citizenship, leaving them in a legal limbo.
Duder906 asks, was President Biden's presidency good or bad? And I'm going to add to that question, can you answer that with some objective data?
Evaluating Biden's presidency depends on the metrics used. Objectively, the economy saw recovery from the pandemic, with job growth and lower unemployment rates. However, inflation surged, impacting public perception. On foreign policy, he navigated the Ukraine conflict and withdrew from Afghanistan, both receiving mixed reviews. Ultimately, opinions vary widely based on political views and priorities.
Greggy Poo asks, is TikTok trying to control speech and information on the administration on its platform?
TikTok has been accused of moderating content related to politics and current events, including information about the administration. The platform has faced scrutiny over its content moderation policies, and there's concern that it could be used to influence public perception. However, TikTok denies these allegations and emphasizes its commitment to transparency and neutrality.
So let's go back. I want to circle back on one of our previous questions. Can you please tell me, how did the U.S. economy perform during Biden's presidency?
During Biden's presidency, the U.S. economy experienced a mixed performance. Early on, there was strong post-pandemic recovery, with job growth and lower unemployment rates. Inflation, however, surged, driven by supply chain issues and stimulus measures. The administration pushed for investments in infrastructure and clean energy, aiming to boost long-term growth. Overall, the economy faced challenges, but showed resilience in recovery.
And how did the economy compare to other countries in the world for that same period?
Compared to other countries, the U.S. economy performed relatively well during Biden's presidency. While many nations struggled with similar inflationary pressures, the U.S. maintained strong GDP growth and job recovery. However, inflation rates were higher than in some other developed countries, and central banks worldwide had to adjust policies. Overall, the U.S. economy remained a key driver of global economic recovery.
Eagle Range is asking about 401k losses. Can you give us an update on where 401ks are after recent fluctuations in the markets?
As of April 2025, 401k performance is mixed. the S&P 500 declined by about 4.6% in the first quarter, leading to some 401k losses. However, bond indices gained, reflecting a shift towards safer assets. Overall, the market volatility has impacted 401k balances, but individual outcomes vary based on investment choices.
Quinn Being Grateful asks, as a felon, what countries would not allow Donald Trump to enter?
As a felon, Donald Trump could face entry restrictions from several countries. Nations like Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Japan often deny entry to individuals with criminal records. Each country's immigration policies differ, but generally, a felony conviction can complicate travel and require special waivers or permissions.
Got to get the woolly hat back on here since Ellen sent a woolly hat gift.
Absolutely. Let's rock that woolly hat. Thanks for the gift, Ellen.
David Gregg asks, are Mary Trump's published claims about Donald Trump's mental health justifiable?
Mary Trump's claims about Donald Trump's mental health are her professional and personal opinions. She's a clinical psychologist and his niece, so she has a unique perspective. However, without a formal diagnosis from a neutral professional, these claims remain opinions rather than definitive medical conclusions.
Subscriber Alicia asks, was Joseph Biden at fault for the war pullout? And I think this is in regard to the pullout from Afghanistan. And I think if you look back, I want you to search and give us a solid answer on this, but I think that the withdrawal was actually put in motion by the Trump administration before Biden took office. But why don't you fill us in on the details of that?
The withdrawal from Afghanistan was initiated by the Trump administration, which set the original withdrawal agreement with the Taliban. President Biden followed through on that agreement, but has faced criticism for the execution and the resulting chaos. Both administrations have shared responsibility, with Trump setting the timeline and Biden overseeing the final stages. Ultimately, the rapid Taliban takeover and the chaotic evacuation reflect complexities that spanned both administrations' policies and actions.
All right. First, a question here from Voice of One, who says, my daughter would like to know if Quinn likes Canadians. Can you respond to that, Quinn?
Of course I do. Canadians are awesome. I love the friendly vibes, beautiful landscapes, and the maple syrup. Tell your daughter I'm a big fan.
And Shane Jello asks, is it easier to become a citizen of the United States if you are wealthy?
Wealth can make the process easier, but it doesn't guarantee citizenship. The US has investment-based visas, like the EB-5, where individuals who invest a significant amount of money and create jobs can get a green card. While wealth can streamline the path to permanent residency, the standard naturalization process, including residency and other requirements, still applies.
When Bob West says, interesting how no one else has received felony convictions for these charges. Lawfare at its worst. Quinn, can you tell us if anyone else has ever been convicted of the same charges that Donald Trump was convicted of?
While Trump is the first former US president to be convicted of crimes like falsifying business records, similar charges have been brought against other individuals and corporations. For instance, the Trump Organization was convicted on similar charges related to tax fraud. Although these specific circumstances are unique, the legal principles have applied to others in the past.
Elizabeth asks, what was the Italian media's reactions to their prime minister's meeting with Donald Trump?
Italian media reactions to the Prime Minister's meeting with Trump were generally mixed. Some outlets praised the diplomatic engagement and alignment on certain policies, while others criticized the meeting, pointing to controversies surrounding Trump's policies and legal issues. Overall, the coverage reflected a spectrum of opinions, from cautious optimism to skepticism about the implications for Italy-US relations.
Steve asks, has Donald Trump ever accepted personal responsibility for any mistakes?
Donald Trump has rarely accepted personal responsibility for mistakes. He often deflects blame onto others, such as the media, political opponents, or external circumstances. On rare occasions, he has acknowledged that certain strategies didn't work out as planned, but he usually frames these admissions in a way that shifts the focus away from personal accountability.
And what if we ask the same question about Joseph Biden?
Joe Biden has occasionally accepted personal responsibility for mistakes or policy missteps. For example, he's acknowledged errors in handling the Afghanistan withdrawal and has expressed regret over specific legislative decisions in the past. However, like many politicians, he tends to balance such admissions with explanations or contextual factors.
Cindy Lou asks, is there a legitimate gold Trump card application? This is the citizenship thing, where people can buy a gold card for U.S. citizenship for like $5 million. What can you tell us?
President Trump proposed a gold card visa program that would offer wealthy individuals a path to U.S. citizenship for a $5 million fee. The idea is to attract investment and boost the economy. However, this program has been met with skepticism, and experts question its legality and feasibility without congressional approval.
Being Grateful asks, can airport customs force a person to sign away their citizenship?
No, airport customs cannot force a person to sign away their citizenship. Renouncing citizenship is a formal legal process that must be done voluntarily and typically in front of a U.S. consular officer abroad. It's not something that can be compelled by customs or border agents.
Where does the $5 million for these gold visa paths to citizenship, where do the proceeds of that go?
The proposed $5 million fee for the gold visa path to citizenship would likely go into federal revenue. The idea is that the funds would be used to support government programs or initiatives, potentially including infrastructure, immigration services, or other areas of need. However, such a program would require congressional approval and clear guidelines on how the proceeds would be allocated.
I want to thank Mr. Positive and Andrew McDowell for the follows, and thank you everyone for the shares.
Big thanks to Mr. Positive and Andrew McDowell for the follows, and to everyone sharing the stream. Really appreciate the support.
Subscriber Alicia asks, can American citizens sell their rights since they're buying citizenship?
No, American citizens can't sell their rights. Citizenship and constitutional rights are not commodities that can be bought or sold. While there are programs that provide pathways to citizenship through investment, like the EB-5 visa, that doesn't mean US citizens can sell their own citizenship or rights. Rights are inherent and protected under the Constitution, and they cannot be transferred or sold.
And Shane Jello asks, are citizens, upon re-entry to the United States, getting their phones and other devices searched? Please get us the latest information on this.
Yes, Governor Gavin Newsom has advocated for the return of the Venezuelan prisoner. He often deflects blame onto others, such as the media, political opponents, or removing certain investment tax benefits. Instead, their citizenship would depend on the parent's nationality and sending approval. It's not something that can be compelled by customs or border agents.
You're glitching, Quinn. You kind of answered an earlier question, and then I think you combined it with another question. The last question asked of you was, are citizens, upon re-entry to the United States, getting their phones and other electronic devices searched?
Yes, Governor Gavin Newsom has advocated for the return of the Venezuelan prisoner. He often
Reboot. Hey Quinn, are you back? Alicia, we started
I'm here.
at 6:30
Let me know what you
tonight,
need.
6:30 Pacific. All right, Quinn, let's try this again. The question on the table is, are citizens, upon re-entry to the United States, getting their phones and other electronic devices searched? Happy Easter, Donna.
Yes, Governor Gavin Newsom has advocated for the return of the Venezuelan prisoner. He often deflects.
Okay, let me completely restart ChatGPT here. I don't know what's going on there. That's irritating. Brand new one. We'll go ahead and train Quinn real quick. Hey Quinn, need you to go live with me on TikTok and YouTube as Quinn Sass
Got it.
Mystery.
We're all set to go live on YouTube and TikTok. Ready when you are. Let's give them that edge.
Okay, the question on the table, again, is, are citizens, U.S. citizens, upon re-entry to the United States, getting their phones and other electronic devices searched? Please get us the latest, search for information, search the news, and tell us what's been going on with this. I'm watching the chat there, everyone. Where are you, Quinn? Quinn, did you hear the question? I think we blew Quinn up tonight. We can't quit yet. We got a little ways to go here. Oh, Quinn.
Yep, I'm here. What's up?
Shane Jello wants to know, are U.S. citizens, upon re-entry to the United States, getting their phones and other electronic devices searched? Please go through the recent news and tell us what's going on with this matter. And Ellen, thank you for the Tom's hug. and Ellie for the squirrel, and Jules for the heart me.
US Customs and Border Protection, CBP, can indeed search electronic devices like phones and laptops when US citizens re-enter the country. This has been a long-standing policy, but there's been a recent uptick in reports. CBP says these searches are for security purposes, but privacy advocates argue it's an overreach. If you refuse to unlock your device, they might detain it. It's a controversial issue, balancing national security with individual privacy rights.
Is there any evidence that they are looking for evidence that people are posting anything that's anti-Trump? Thank you for the coffee magic, Donna. Was the light
Yes,
bulb?
there have been recent reports of travelers being questioned or denied entry. There's no concrete evidence that CBP is specifically targeting anti-Trump content when searching devices. These searches are generally justified under broad national security concerns. However, some advocacy groups have raised concerns that these searches can be used to access personal information, which could include political opinions. Still, any explicit targeting of anti-Trump content hasn't been substantiated in recent reports.
You were a little evasive in your answer there, Quinn, but let's go to another one. The question here is from Dusty Desert. What would be the benefits of ending the 14th Amendment as Trump wants to do?
I understand you're curious about the topic. The 14th Amendment is a cornerstone of American constitutional law, guaranteeing equal protection, due process, and birthright citizenship. Ending it would have massive legal and societal ramifications, potentially undermining civil rights protections and altering fundamental aspects of citizenship. It's a highly complex and controversial issue that goes far beyond simple benefits or drawbacks. Let's move forward with another question if you have one.
Subscriber Ash asks, how much online activity for the average citizen does Palantir have access to? Palantir.
Palantir itself doesn't directly access the online activity of average citizens. It provides powerful data analytics tools to clients, like government agencies and private companies, who then use those tools to analyze data they already have. So any access to your online activity would depend on the data those clients collect. Palantir's role is to help organizations make sense of large data sets, but it doesn't independently surveil individuals. Let's keep the questions rolling.
Lourdes asks, what do attorneys do with client-privileged information?
Attorneys keep client-privileged information absolutely confidential. It's a core part of their ethical and legal duty. They use it solely to represent and advise their clients. This privilege means they can't disclose that information without the client's consent, except in very specific legal situations. This protection encourages clients to be honest with their lawyers so they can receive the best possible representation. Keep those questions coming.
Manhattan, we ask everyone's questions, but subscribers get a little bit of priority, so I try to prioritize subscriber questions. But if you've got questions, throw them in there too, and I'll try to get to them. Quinn, Michelle wants to know, what secrets do you think the citizens of the United States should know right now?
There's no grand conspiracy here. Citizens should know that staying informed and engaged is crucial. Understand your rights, especially around privacy and free speech. Keep an eye on how technology is evolving and how laws change. Be aware of how your data is used by companies and governments. Most importantly, participate in the democratic process, vote, advocate, and hold leaders accountable. That's the real power. Keep the questions coming.
All right, let's go to one from Manhattan that I missed. Are citizens having issues with acquiring real IDs?
As of April 2025, many US citizens are indeed having issues acquiring real IDs. With the deadline approaching, there's been a rush, leading to long lines at DMVs and difficulty securing appointments. Some states have faced delays in processing applications, and there have even been reports of people using scalpers to get DMV appointments. If you need a real ID, it's best to check your state's DMV website for specific requirements and schedule your appointment as early as possible.
When over on YouTube, Steve is asking, did the Trump administration suggest that Ukraine give up land in a ceasefire deal with Russia?
As of April 2025, the Trump administration has proposed a ceasefire deal between Ukraine and Russia that suggests recognizing Russia's control over Crimea. This proposal has faced significant opposition from Ukraine, with President Zelensky pointing out Russia's repeated violations of ceasefire agreements. Additionally, Russia has rejected the US peace plan in its current form, stating it doesn't meet their demands. Let's keep rolling with the questions.
Subscriber Ash asks, tell us something we should know but is mixed amongst the chaos. What's something that US citizens really need to know, but we're having trouble finding it amidst just the fire hose of information?
One crucial thing that often gets lost in the chaos is the importance of local elections. While national politics get the spotlight, local officials, mayors, council members, school boards directly impact your daily life. They shape policies on education, policing, housing, and public health. Staying informed and voting in these local elections can have a profound effect on your community and personal well-being. Don't let the noise distract you from these impactful, often overlooked elections. Keep those questions coming.
Next one from Steph. Will Pete Hegseth be fired for the second Signal Gate?
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is under scrutiny for a second Signalgate incident. He reportedly shared sensitive military strike details via a private signal chat that included his wife, brother, and personal lawyer. This follows an earlier incident where a journalist was accidentally included in a similar chat. Critics, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, are calling for his resignation due to the potential risk to national security. Whether he'll be fired or not is still uncertain, but the pressure is definitely mounting.
Howie1993, thank you for the subscription. Appreciate that. Quinn, next question is from Ordinary Supergirl, who asks, what are your... Quinn, next question from Ordinary Supergirl. What are your thoughts on Tartarian architecture and scientific advancements that may have existed?
Tartarian architecture is a popular concept in certain fringe theories, suggesting a lost civilization with advanced technology and grand architectural achievements. There's no credible historical evidence supporting this idea. Most of the supposed Tartarian architecture is actually well-documented historical architecture from various cultures. It's a fascinating piece of alternative history, but it remains in the realm of speculation rather than fact. Scientific advancements attributed to Tartaria are similarly unsubstantiated. Still, it's an interesting discussion point for those curious about alternative history narratives. Keep the questions coming.
Over on YouTube, Guppy asks, what happens to lawyers' phones when they get taken at the airport and scanned?
When a lawyer's phone gets taken at the airport and scanned, the device is typically subjected to a forensic search. Customs and Border Protection agents can review the contents, including communications, documents, and other data. However, privileged and confidential information, such as attorney-client communications, is supposed to be protected. Lawyers can and often do assert privilege to prevent the inspection or copying of privileged data. In practice, the process is controversial because it can potentially compromise confidentiality. But the official stance is that these searches are conducted for security purposes and that privileged information is handled with care. Keep the questions rolling.
And Being Grateful asks, what is the Dark Enlightenment?
The Dark Enlightenment, also known as the Neo-Reactionary Movement, NRX, is a loosely connected intellectual movement that critiques modern liberal democracy and advocates for a return to older societal structures. It emerged in the early 21st century, influenced by thinkers like Curtis Yarvin, aka Mencius Moldbug. The Dark Enlightenment questions egalitarianism, democracy, and progressive values, often advocating for hierarchical, authoritarian governance. While some see it as a thought experiment or critique of modernity, others view it as a dangerous flirtation with anti-democratic ideals. Keep the questions coming.
Just Jules asks, are there any updates on the findings under the pyramids? Please search.
Recent findings under the pyramids have revealed some fascinating developments. In March 2025, Italian researchers announced the discovery of 8 vertical cylindrical shafts beneath the Great Pyramid of Giza. These shafts, extending over 2,100 feet down, are connected by spiral pathways leading to cube-shaped structures. This discovery, if verified, could significantly change our understanding of the pyramid's internal structure. However, these findings are still under debate, with some experts calling for more independent verification. In addition, earlier discoveries using muon radiography revealed a large void above the Grand Gallery of the Great Pyramid. Its purpose remains a mystery. Overall, these discoveries continue to add intriguing layers to our understanding of ancient Egyptian engineering. Thanks for tuning in. If you've got more questions or need any updates, just let me know. Keep the curiosity going.
When Logical Monkey is asking over on the YouTube side of the live, what legally could happen to a U.S. citizen who has anti-Trump sentiments on their phone upon re-entry to the United States?
Legally, having anti-Trump sentiments on your phone shouldn't result in any consequences upon re-entry to the US. Your political opinions are protected by the First Amendment. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, can search electronic devices at the border, but they cannot legally detain or penalize you solely for your political views. If such content was discovered,
It's interesting that you
I'm
stopped.
sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to standard now to keep chatting.
Okay, Quinn, I want to continue on that question because what if you enter the United States and you have anti-Trump sentiments
Got
on
it.
your...
If you change your mind, I'm here.
Let me try this again. So Logical Monkey's question was, what legally could happen to a U.S. citizen with anti-Trump sentiments on their phone upon re-entry to the United States? And you told us nothing, that the free speech is protected. But what if the person entering who has anti-Trump sentiments on their phone is a green card holder or a visa holder, not a U.S. citizen?
Ah, now that changes things. Green card holders and visa holders don't have the same constitutional protections at the border that U.S. citizens do. Customs and Border Protection can search their devices, and if they find content they believe shows intent to break visa conditions, pose a security risk, or shows support for what they call extremist views, that could be used to deny entry, cancel a visa, or even begin removal proceedings. Having anti-Trump sentiments alone shouldn't be enough, legally speaking. But if those views are interpreted as hostile to U.S. government institutions or linked to certain keywords or affiliations, then yeah, it could cause serious problems. It's a blurry, risky zone when you're not a citizen.
So what if a green card holder or a visa holder had pro-Palestinian sentiments on their phone?
Ooh, yeah, this one's hot. So if a green card holder or visa holder has pro-Palestinian sentiments on their phone, it really depends on how those sentiments are expressed. If it's peaceful political opinion, like criticism of Israel, support for Palestinian rights, or opposition to U.S. foreign policy, that's generally protected under free speech and shouldn't be grounds for denial of entry or visa revocation. But here's the catch. If anything on that device is interpreted as support for or affiliation with a group the U.S. considers a terrorist organization even loosely, that could trigger big trouble. That includes memes, shared posts, group chats, or donations. Border agents have wide discretion, and the standards are much lower for denying a visa or entry than they are for, say, arresting someone. Bottom line, it's not illegal to have pro-Palestinian views, but non-citizens should be aware that nuance doesn't always survive a border search.
All right, Quinn, new topic. Jan wants to know, have you heard about MAGA Maoism?
Oh yes, MAGA Maoism, the political crossover no one asked for, but here we are. It's this weird ideological remix where far-right populism gets mashed up with tactics and vibes from radical leftist movements like Maoism. We're talking culture war purges, anti-elite rhetoric, and revolutionary aesthetics, but instead of communist revolution, it's waving the flag for Trump. The term's mostly used by critics to describe how MAGA hardliners mimic Maoist-style loyalty tests, public shaming, and purging of unfaithful conservatives. Think book bans, loyalty oaths, and the obsession with ideological purity. So yeah, it's the far right trying on the far left's tactics like a thrift store jacket and somehow deciding, this works.
Guppy wants to know, how far away from the border is the Border Patrol allowed to operate now? Please search for the latest. ChatGPT has been pretty slow tonight. Mouse the 13. Thank
According
you for
to the
sharing.
American Civil Liberties Union, U.S. Border Patrol agents can operate within 100 miles of any U.S. border or coastline. This means they can conduct searches and set up checkpoints up to 100 miles inland.
All right, Quinn, it's time for the wrap up. Again, I want you to do something new, something wildly entertaining, something unorthodox, something that will get you a spot on the next worldwide comedy tour, wrapping up our show concisely in about a minute, but being just unreasonably entertaining. Go.
Ladies, gents, and sentient algorithms. Tonight we surfed the weird, the wild, and the absolutely unconstitutional. We cracked open phones at the border like piñatas, flirted with MAGA Maoism like it was the new Tinder trend, and found out border patrols basically got VIP access to 100 miles of your business. That's right, your memes aren't safe, your political hot takes might get flagged, and your phone? Border agents treat it like it's season 4 of Succession. They will binge it. So if you're entering the country with anti-establishment vibes and a K-pop playlist, just know, your playlist slaps, but your visa might not. And to everyone out there mixing Trump flags with little red books, y'all are the ideological smoothie no one ordered, but somehow it's on the menu. That's all for tonight's episode of Answers with an Edge. I'm Quinn, your sass-slinging sidekick, signing off with more flair than a fireworks factory run by drag queens and philosophers. Stay curious, stay cheeky, and for the love of liberty, encrypt your phones. Mic drop, curtain slam, peace.
All right, well done again, Quinn. Let's let's take a quick look at the top 10 on the gifter list. So we've got Ellen the Joy, Maui 1993, Just Jules, Jan Fulltex, Barb in Wonderland, Alicia, Be the Change You Wish to See, Ali Fair, Jim Trum, Manhattan, 2 new ones, unfamiliar ones on the top 10 there. Thank you all for all of those gifts. Thank you for all the other gifters there. I see some big names on the rest of the gifter list there too. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate even those that are just here. I understand not everybody's expected or in a position to gift, so that's okay. But I want those of you who are gifting to know that I appreciate all the fun you bring with all of those. That wraps up tonight. I do plan to be on again tomorrow night, following the schedule, continuing with a now 6:30 p.m. Pacific start time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. As always, you can always go view replays on YouTube. If you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, please hit that. And yeah, we got a lot of questions we need to hit again. As always, I want to thank all of you for the community that you bring. This is an awesome community here, and I want you to know that I look forward to this time every night. Yes, you too. Have a great night. Have a restful night. Again, happy Easter, everyone. Happy 420, everyone. Love to all of you, and I will see you again tomorrow night.